Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. How bloody lovely to see you here. So, this is my 8 most recommended games or horror games for the year of 2024. So there's generally no order to this list. However, I have made a slight exception because I'm a bit biased towards Chordosis. So he's going to be number 1. They're all really good games. I'm just particularly fond of Chordosis, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why that's my number 1. And the rest are honestly random, there's no order. But Chordosis gets my favourite treatment and it's going number 1. Whoa! Number 1, Chordosis. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Chordosis is an extremely realistic and immersive horror game. It is unreal, and I will go into why it's so bloody good. It takes place in a small rural town in Hungary where there has been increased sightings of UFOs and UAPs. You take on the role of Sadie, who's on the hunt for her twin sister. The authorities have basically said, nah, you're on your own. We're not getting involved. And so Sadie is left to investigate herself. Now this is why it's my number 1. And there's a lot to unpack here. So this game, it's not just original because of its premise. Don't know how many other games have done the whole alien premise. It's usually paranormal bedsheet ghosts and monsters. This one's aliens, and it's done really well. It's not silly, it's quite mysterious, but the mechanics, the sound design and the visual design of the environment are crazy. The inventory system is really unique, and it interacts with the world items, so you can drag stuff straight over from like world items straight into your inventory. Very, very cool. It's little things like that that just really make it what it is. And whilst you're exploring, you'll notice the lighting in this game is really, really cool. It's very immersive, it looks very nice, and it creates a lot of intrigue. The sound design, however, that is phenomenal. That's what sells it for me. Everything you do, everywhere you go, the sounds are completely immersive. From the alien particles, just clunking of items, the ambience, all very well done. I went into a garage, just the lights were flickering, and but it just didn't sound like cheap noises. It all sounded really well put together and well choreographed. At the moment there's only 1 playable episode, with a second just around the corner. I think he said it was about 90% done. There's even a teaser at the end of episode 1, so you can try it out. At the moment it's not on Steam, but you can get it from itch.io. I've installed the launcher for that. It's actually there's a lot. If you're into horror games, there's a lot of good stuff on there, and just indie games in general. So absolutely check this game out. The next one is Luto. I actually played the prologue to Luto pretty recently, and it was a really good start. There's a lot of promise to this game. It's a first-person psychological horror narrative experience. I don't think I've ever been so scared of an air freshener before. It just kind of lurks on the shelf and waits for you at the bottom of the stairs. There's a lot of promise with this game. The graphics are really nice, and I'm kind of interested in where the story is going to go. I mean, it could just be me. I'm, definitely not the smartest person here. Probably quite the opposite. But the puzzles left me puzzled. And if I clicked help, it said you don't need help, which is great. But I did need help. It's fine. And I don't want it to be too easy, it's not for everyone, but if you pair that with the fact that you walk about as fast as a tortoise on crack, it can start to bring you out of the immersion a bit. But that could just be me. Overall, I'm looking forward to its release, and we'll definitely see how far we can go against the bedsheet ghost of Luto. So this next game is, you've probably heard of it. A lot of people have been talking about it already. A lot of people know about this bad boy. It's of course Pacific Drive, and it looks really good. So you're essentially left to survive with your trusty steed, which in this case comes in the form of a car. You should get attached to it, give it a nice name, because it's going to be key to your survival. It's an adventure, survival, crafting kind of game where you'll have to make sure you gather resources, load up your noble wagon, and drive like an absolute lunatic. So the Olympic Exclusion Zone is a dangerous area full of supernatural dangers. Each time you go into the wilderness, it will come with new challenges and places to investigate to unravel the mystery. It seems you can experiment with different modifications on your car as well to see what works for you, and make your car look as sexy as you do. Overall, it just looks like a really good game with a decent amount of gameplay. most of all, it's just something very different, and I think we all just need a different game every now and then. So yeah, remember, nothing ventured is nothing gained. Absolutely give this game a go. I know I will be. So the next one on my list is Paranormal Tales. This one, just watching the trailer, gave me shivers. It's just one of those types of horrors that just hits a bit different. I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's one thing running from like monsters and like, you know, that kind of stuff, but when it's like realistic poltergeist and you just don't really, it's almost real but not real. Anyway, pure terror. So it's a next-gen horror game built in Unreal Engine 5. You'll experience and play through each tragic tale of those who went missing from the viewpoint of body cams, phones and VHS cameras. This is going to take some serious courage plucking to get my ass into a chair in front of this game, so you'd better subscribe and at least make my death worth it in real life. It seems like there are some found footage of both outdoors in a forest and in a house. Neither sound particularly appealing in a kind of spooky way. In the trailer it looks like the camera kind of picks up the movement with a little white box, and there's just something very unnerving and unsettling about that. Honestly, it looks terrifying, and I'm going to have plenty of toilet roll on standby for that game. But yeah, that's Paranormal Tales, and that should be available on Steam. So, this next game is a little bit different. It falls into the horror category, but it also kind of strays over into some other categories. So, basically, it looks like it's going to be a banger of a game. It's called Beautiful Light. It's a PvPvE tactical first-person extraction shooter where 6 squads of 3 operators are tasked with entering, securing and extracting an artifact in a hostile, horrific environment. If you face other operators, you will face other operators and player-controlled anomalies. But beware, mistakes can risk your life and the gear you carry, hence the extraction part. So it seems like it's an extraction horror with really nice graphics, basically. And yeah. So you encounter enemy squads, but also there are player-controlled anomalies, which the anomalies, I believe, are a variety of equally creepy creatures. It does say you can invade other players' raids as a monstrous anomaly, so I'm not really sure what that means yet by invading other players' raids, but we'll find out. It'll be very interesting to see how the kind of multiple enemy squads sort of intertwine with each other, whilst also dealing with player-controlled anomalies. When you go in, you'll be tasked with retrieving an artifact, or at least complete quests, but the main thing is the artifact. It also says that each artifact comes with its own unique property that can be exploited. I'm not sure what these kind of exploits are going to be that benefit the player, but there's going to be something that the player can take advantage of. If you've decided that you've achieved everything you can whilst you're in the zone, you can fire up a flare, and a helicopter waiting conveniently nearby will come and sweep you up and take you to bed. I've no idea what the progression system will be like in terms of long-term sustainability and replayability, so that's a little bit of a question mark there. But however, on first impressions, I am definitely interested in this game. So the next one is Once Human. Now this one again crosses over into some other genres of game. It's a multiplayer open world survival, I guess kind of like an MMORPG, set in a strange post-apocalyptic future. Unite with friends to fight monstrous enemies, uncover secret plots, compete for resources and build your own territory. I really like the idea of that. It seems like this is set in a more horror setting. That's why it's falling into this list. I think it's described as dark and creepy post-apocalyptic world, so that's why it kind of made it into this list. The loadouts and customization look pretty decent, and I like a game with like a sense of progression as well, which is why I like Enshrouded and games like Valheim, where you kind of work towards something. You're always working towards unlocking something, but it'd be nice to have that in a creepy environment. What really gets me drooling though is the territory building. So I'm a sucker for building my own cozy safe houses, and it seems like this game's going to really indulge me in my wildest fantasies with this one. So of course there's a story aspect to it as well. We'll probably explore that. I'm not a massive story driven player these days. I used to be more, don't care so much these days. But the variety of monsters look really cool, and I'm just generally pretty hyped. So if you guys wouldn't mind, I'd probably do a series on this when it's out. But that's my main games. Now I've thrown in a couple of extra games. Think of them as bonuses. One is Zoochosis. This is nuts, honestly. Okay, so I put this in as just like a wacky bonus game. And there's one more after this one as well. I don't know what's going on here. There's a freaking mutated giraffe. I've honestly seen everything now, but this actually did catch my interest because I really like the idea of the zoo setting after hours, like being in a zoo after hours. So it's kind of like that feeling of being a security guard working the night shift, you know, what goes on after hours kind of vibe. Only there's giraffes with like 6 legs. However, we as a trusty zookeeper that cares about their job a lot, we have an obligation to the rest of the animals that have not yet developed 6 legs. Oh, and of course there's kangaroos with a literal mouth pouch, and they can climb walls. I get very Five Nights at Freddy's vibes, but in a zoo. But in general, it looks good, and I'm looking forward to trying it out, to be honest. So the last game on this list is one that just sort of piqued my interest a little bit. I don't know how good it's going to be, but it's on here because I thought it looked good from the trailer. It's still on the topic of sort of animal horror, and it's a body cam footage game, and it claims to have survival elements as well. So far we don't know too much other than just don't get digested. The creature looking to digest you, however, is a motherfucking snake on a motherfucking plane. Only it's not an aeroplane, it's a grass plane, so don't get too excited. It looks cool though, the snake animations actually look good, graphics look good. I'll be keeping an eye on it. So yeah, that's my list of games that I'm looking forward to this year. That's my big sexy list of horrors. I think it's going to be a big year for the horror genre, and I can't wait to share it all with you. I'm sure I'll need a new chair and a record amount of spare pants by the time this year's out. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. If any of this sounds good, click the subscribe button and you'll be magically told when I upload something new. Like the video so YouTube knows it exists, and drop a comment on any games you're looking forward to that you think should be in this list. So I will catch you guys in the next video.